Good morning, everyone. How are you? Patricia Hayes here. I am so glad to be back. For those of you who are joining for the first time, my name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And I love doing all those things that help women, professionals, business persons, and entrepreneurs to up level in their professional careers and in their lives by being much more empowered in how they approach their career and utilizing their professional relationships to help in achieving their goals in a way that's authentic and purposeful. And that's just the thing I love to do. And I am glad to be back because I have been out of pocket for an entire week, unfortunately, because, I live in the Austin area and apparently we had a delayed um, allergy season and it laid me out like it was 20 years ago. So it's been a minute since I've been that sick. Anyone who lives in Austin understands what I'm talking about. If you don't, look it up. But basically, you can have allergy attacks that make you feel like you have the flu, like it's that bad. So that's what happened to me last week. So you did not want me trying to talk to you because I had no voice and or I sounded like a frog. Um, and also like I was hacking up a lung all along the way. So not a good look, not a good look. But I'm back and we are going to keep these things going. We're going to be catching up on our series. So today we're going to be talking about planting those networking seeds. We're going to talk about the social engagements part of it. And then on Wednesday, to help make sure we catch up and finish this series before the end of the month, is to talk about the follow up. And y'all know how I feel about following up on those types of things. So do not miss it. Make sure that you save, that you follow me so that you know when I'm going live and you can catch it. And also remember, you can catch the entire series on my YouTube channel. And make sure you just, click into patriciavhayes.com, my website for all the goodies, or all the social media or DM me, all the options, all the things. Just reach out. Okay. So I'm super excited, like I said, to be back. Want to jump in because I want to make sure that I have my voice for the entire time. And what we've been talking about with these planting of the networking seeds is that it's so important to consider where you are and what you're doing and how that's going to play in to your relationship building goals. And if you don't have relationship building goals, then like that's a different conversation that we need to have and you need to catch me and I'll tell you which episode to catch on that. But it's super important and it's because it is very much these long-term relationships that we build over time that are going to help to sustain our career. Notice I'm talking about a career and not a job, because a job is a singular thing. And then you get tired of a job, you go find another job. But a career is something that you create, right? I love these things. A career is something that you create. And when you're creating it, that means you're creating a story, you're creating a flow, and and it's reflective of you and what it is you want to do. Okay. So that said, we're talking about building relationships that will help you to create and sustain your career across all time. So it doesn't matter if you don't work at a certain job for 5 or 6 years, you can still have maintained relationships that could be beneficial to you 10 years later in a totally different environment because you've planted those seeds and you've utilized those relationships and leveraged them in a purposeful, authentic, and sustainable way. All right. So we've been talking about all the different ways to do that. We've talked about maximizing your networking opportunities, which is a series. Don't forget to go catch that masterclass series that's going to be available or is available for purchase on our learning platform and on our websites. But we first talked about focusing on conferences and workshops. We next focused on professional development and business retreats, those types of things. And today we're going to talk about social engagement. So, what do I mean? Well, they may end up being something that's related to work. The the traditional thoughts are like happy hour, and but then there's also galas and receptions and all of those things. But guess what, it includes so much more. One of the things I always encourage my clients, my one-on-one clients, to do is to make sure to take up or engage re-engage in a hobby that they've had, right? Because it helps to reactivate the creativity side of your brain. It also helps to lessen and decrease your stress levels, all kinds of good reasons for it. But it also gives you an opportunity to engage with other people on something for fun or for enjoyment. Okay. Even your volunteer opportunities, that can be a part of the social engagement part. It can kind of go either way, but all of those things are what we're talking about. So, what are we talking about when we're saying, well, how are we planting seeds while we're doing those things? I'm like, if I'm going dancing, or if I'm going to my, craft, my crafting club, I just want to go craft. Okay, yes, you can do that, but you also learn how to build out those relationships, because there's nothing like going to an event or an activity for that and learning that someone else that's there is in a similar field as you, has similar professional goals, and then you start connecting at a whole other level. Okay, these are the opportunities to really build some super solid relationships over time. So I've got about three different things that I want to say, and this is a little bit overlap what I've started talking about here. The first thing is excuses be gone, especially in today's world. It has been a rough couple of years. We're re-engaging, and it's like all of a sudden everyone wants to kind of go back to quote what was normal. And I have been a huge advocate of like, normal is gone. This is a new normal. And we're going to be engaging in different ways, right? There's still going to be in-person events and activities. There are going to be people who are not going to engage in in-person activities as much. And maybe it's going to be social or smaller groups, smaller opportunities, whatever. But here's where the excuses come in. And I'll be honest, I've faced them myself already, which is getting to that level of preparing your mind, body, and soul to go out to be social, just to be social. Like, it takes a lot of effort. And that's one of those things I know people are facing right now, which is, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was putting in so much effort doing this. And now I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do that. And that is all okay. But you can't rest on those excuses of I'm too busy, I don't want to go, it's not fun anymore. All of those things, they very well have some legitimate rationale behind them. But the truth of the matter is that we still have to build forward, okay? And if we're going to build forward, then what we do not want to do is to completely cut ourselves off from people, because that's what we've just unfortunately had to do for a couple of years. So I encourage you to ease back in, or even if you've taken, you're like, you know what, this is not even how I'm approaching my life anymore. That's fine. Do the time, take the time to reflect, to figure out how it is you want to engage with this new approach to your life and your career, and then re-engage. So it's not that you're opting out of engaging and being social. You may be choosing to do so differently, and that is absolutely your prerogative. But if you are continuing to want to build a career and create one that's sustainable over time, then you've got to continue to build and create those relationships that are going to align and help you to support it over that time as well. So it's just a shift. And it's one that sometimes, depending on how big the shift, may take a little bit of reflection, or it may take a lot. That's what I help people through, and I encourage you to take that time. But assess your excuses, find out what's really at the root of them, and then take action accordingly that will help you to overcome them. And that can be done. Like I said, I'll use myself as example. I mean, like, oh my gosh, things have opened up so much, and it seemed sudden, right? And I was like, I don't know that I'm there yet. And guess what? I had to be okay with myself, because I remember those days of running to events 3, 4 nights a week, during lunch hours, all of that. And I am okay with coming to the terms of that is not where I am anymore. Like, I was engaged and for my career and for those purposes at that point. But at this point, I'm wanting to approach things differently. I'm wanting to approach things with greater depth, and to be even more deliberate. And for those of you who know me, you're like, oh my gosh, really? I was like, yes, even more deliberate than I've been in previous years. Okay. And so those are the things that you do in order to reflect, do the assessment, and then take the action accordingly. So what I'm doing is I'm being much more selective about those things that I do attend. They're connected for something. So if I'm a part of an organization where it's mentoring, I'm going to some of those things. If there's a board that I'm serving on, then I'm, serving, then I'm choosing to attend perhaps some of those events, and keeping it connected. And so that for social purposes, even those things that I do, maybe I'm going out to lunch with more of my female, business friends and entrepreneurs, right? More one-on-ones, more small groups. I'm engaging and re-engaging online with more people in a much more intimate way. Okay. All of these things continue to support me being social, to support me engaging with people for the fun of it, right? Calling up friends to say, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. Let's get together for coffee. All of those things are happening. And guess what? I'm still staying kind of busy. I have a few weeks where I'm a little off. Last week is a anomaly because I was sick the entire time, so I actually cleared my calendar. But this week is a busy week, right? And not because I'm trying to catch up from the previous week, but because it was already scheduled that way. And I've added a couple other things. You're going to get to see a couple of surprises as I make a little trip here or there, to surprise some people. So these are all opportunities to continue to be engaged socially, and to use those opportunities to do so. Okay. Number two is be social with a purpose. This kind of really leads into that conversation I started off with, which is, if you have shifted in your career, if you shifted in your work, and you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling going to 15 galas, you know, um, every month, or man, hello, it's those things aren't cheap either, right? They cost you something. They cost you money. They cost you time. And so when both your money and your time are valuable, then how do you do it? Then you narrow down, and then you start being much more purposeful about how you are engaging socially. So, for example, like I mentioned, maybe you're saying, okay, I'm going to go to 3, 4 events this month, and 2 of them are going to be linked to volunteer opportunities that I work with. Or I'm going to go have some coffee. I'm going to catch up Maybe my goal this month is to catch up with some friends that I haven't talked to in a while. So I'm going to schedule some coffees. I'm going to schedule some lunches, right? You're being very deliberate. You're being very purposeful about what it is you're doing, but you're staying engaged. Okay. And so that's what I encourage you to do. It is really one of the most valuable tools and strategies that I offer and help people work through, and that I utilize myself. When you're tired, when you feel a little, overdrawn, and or overwhelmed, it's like, okay, I still need to do some things, but what am I going to do? And this is when you allow yourself to be more purposeful with what actions you're taking, with what events you're engaging with, and so that you're still doing it, right? You work through that fear of missing out, FOMO, but because you are engaging and you're staying engaged on your terms. Now, this is contrary to what a lot of people do, because as we've seen with things opening up, that people are running and kind of going straight back into it. And I get it, because we are human beings and crave connection. So no criticism about that. But I am saying that you don't have to do it that way in order to still be successful in moving your goals forward. That is the falsity that's been put out there, that you have to go kill yourself going to 1,000 activities and events in order to stay relevant. And that is false. And when you're being social with a purpose, that helps you to accomplish the same goal without the overwhelm, without the exhaustion, but with much more fun and much more pleasure. So, secondly, make sure you're being social with a purpose. The last point I want to put up here is to explore anew. I love this one. This is the one that helps you to realize or to overcome when you've gotten in a rut. And I don't want you to get stuck in a rut of doing the same things over and over again. That's kind of a little bit of what's happened, right? People automatically go back to doing all of the same things they were doing before, some of which were not fun, some of which they were not having a good time doing. So this is a perfect opportunity to go explore, to go think about, well, I always said I wanted to go, join a travel club, or I always wanted to go join, and learn about this new interest, this new hobby. Okay. This is the time to do it. And don't worry about, oh my gosh, but this is not directly related to what I do for work. Great. Sometimes that's exactly what we need, is to do something that is not directly related to the work that we are doing, because our brains need a break. Do you know that you can work at much higher levels of efficiency and productivity if you remember to give your brain a break? Right. And I am not the expert on all of that. I have some productivity coaches and friends and things like that, and folks who study this, but there is research to support that. So I encourage you to think about, what are those things you haven't done in a while, or that you never took the time to explore. This is the time to go do it. So, for example, myself, I've been a little iffy on all my crafting. I love paper crafting. I love doing handmade things. You don't even want to know how many supplies I have. I have a lot. That said, with it sitting all around me, I hadn't been doing it. I hadn't been gardening and doing some of this, taking care of plants and all of those things that literally feed my soul and help to decrease, stress and concern about whether this project is going to come through, or am I going to get this next gig, all of that. Guess what? I'm going to go play with paper. So that's what I've started going back to, because it is fun for me. It does allow me to engage in an activity that I love. And guess what? It's even more fun when I go do it with other people. So, even through the last couple of years, I was able to do a couple of events online. And you're like, how did you do that? It was the most fun to attend an online, crafting event. And I loved it. Okay. That was something I'd never done before. I used to take all of my crafting classes in person. And so it opened me up to other opportunities to engage with people who love doing the same thing. And I encourage you to do that now. Even if it's something that you used to do and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that person, go find yourself a group of people online or get a couple of your friends together and recreate a smaller group to do it. Okay. There's so many opportunities. Anyone who knows me knows when someone comes to me and says, oh, but I can't do that because, and I'm like, well, why not? My kids know better than to say that to me, right? Like, well, I can't because, and I'm like, why not? I'm always going to ask why not, and then I'm going to come up with like 3 to 5 ideas right then about why you can do this, how you can do it. Let's talk about it. Okay. And I have to learn to take my own medicine. I have to practice what I preach. So when those thoughts come up, I'm like, oh, but I can't because that takes us back to excuses. Then it's like, yeah, but why not? Let's really talk about why can't you? And the reality is it's not that you can't. You've made a decision not to. Let's explore that some more. And then let's figure out how you can re-engage and get involved and be social in person, online, however, in a way that continues to feed your personal and professional goals. And that's it. That's what we're talking about today. So continue to engage. You never know who you are going to meet when you do these things. You never know where the relationships will take off and where they will go to. I've had that happen so many times. I've watched it happen with people that I've worked with. And it's just one of the most powerful ways to build your professional relationships when you're doing it with people who have similar priorities, values, goals, interests, and you're doing it for fun. So that's not even talking about when you're being deliberate about being social for professional related events. Okay. Those are always, again, opportunities to engage, to get to know people better, and to build out your network in a way that's going to be sustainable, authentic, and purposeful. And that's what I have for you today. So I invite you to come back on Wednesday. Wednesday, we are going to finalize this series and we're going to talk about the follow up. The gold is in the follow up, y'all. I always say this, and we're going to talk more in depth about how you can make sure that you can stay engaged in following up on all of these awesome strategies and concepts that we've been talking about. And if you need more, then I highly encourage you to go check out the Maximizing Your Networking Opportunities series that is being offered as a masterclass series. And you can purchase one class at a time, or you can buy the whole series, whichever you prefer. Let me know if you are interested. I will be happy to share the link and to direct you towards it, and or to make sure just go check on the link on whatever my social pages are that are in my bio, and it will be there. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back. I hope you all have a fantastic start to your week, and we will see you Wednesday. Bye bye.